Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Totally Accurate. It's a battle simulator inside of this totally accurate history classroom and another totally accurate history lesson from your totally accurate Starsnipe. Now, today we are going to be going over something a little bit less so of a civilization, right? And more so of, well, more of like a time period. So as you guys know, the medieval times, also referred to sometimes as the Dark Ages, due to the fact that the sun was literally blotted out due to like almost like a second ice age, except with clouds instead of ice. So there's like hella cloudy, right? Now, pretty much what would happen is the feudal system was enacted, right? And there were a lot of feudal things, and pretty much peasants were everywhere. You had peasants, they existed. Yeah, they were in what's the word I'm thinking for? I don't know. Indebted to their landlords, and the landlords would all pretty much, that was the military of Europe at the time. The landlords had their own kind of private militaries, kind of like paramilitaries in the form of knights. So here, these knights unfortunately do not have horsemen because this totally accurate battle simulator still needs updates to be totally accurate history-wise, but we do have some footmen which do represent some knights, and pretty much what these footmen would go out of their way and do is go and hopefully quell the rebellions that would come. And here you can see the footmen, very deadly. All you have to do is think of them as knights. However, when there was something such as a peasant rebellion, at times it did not usually go as well when there were up to 70 peasants. However, do keep in mind this is a relatively technologically advanced at the time, so they would also potentially have some archers helping them out. But even here, you can see that they are skewering that poor soul and, well, quelling this rebellion quite well. They lost a couple of their comrades, unfortunately, but that is how it went. This is how the knights existed, and this is how the knights did. Now, do keep in mind, they would probably have a hell of a lot more armor, but in the totally accurate battle simulator, the armor is invisible. However, they are pretty tough, so it makes sense. And now, occasionally when landlords went to war with each other, right, they're like, knights, go attack this other land, and then they would go out and attack and pretty much engage in something like this, and usually the one who can muster up either the more skilled troops. Totally accurate battle simulator, there isn't really a skill factor we can incorporate, right? I mean, there's kind of tactics which we could do, and here we can see that the red team is at quite the loss, and they are, they are getting destroyed. This is not looking good for the reds. So the blues had the more skilled warriors. We can't, so whoever the blue army, the blue landlord was able to, well, or the blue lord, they weren't really called landlords, they were just flat out lords. He was able to hire, he had better knights in his possession. Right, so he's able to do more damage here, and the knights were, oh my god, this guy is, he's not even walking at this point. He's like, he's being dragged, not drug. Drug is something illegal. Okay, never mind. So that is how the battles went down between them. Occasionally there would be horsemen involved as well. Unfortunately, we cannot accurately represent the horsemen of the time. Like, sure, we can go ahead and pop down a couple chariots and pretend those are normal horses, but this is more Egyptian, and there wouldn't really be much, this wouldn't really be happening, right? So it's kind of a very hard thing to accurately do. However, there would be horses involved, and some of these knights would be on armored horses as well. And here you can see that the foot knights were still able to be very efficient and very productive in taking them out. So this is where the knights did well. And then sometimes, right, these knights, the landlords, at one point in time, this is what the Great Crusades were, right? The Great Crusades were when pretty much like King Arthur and like those kings, they got kind of pissy. And they're like, we need the Holy Land, which is of course none other than Jerusalem. And now to get Jerusalem, which was under not Islamic, was it Islamic? I'm not entirely sure, but it was Arabic. It was definitely Arabic at the very least. They would pretty much send huge numbers of men over to take out to the Arabian Peninsula to try and take control of it, and usually it would become a bloody mess. I don't really know. We'll just say that the Arabians were a horde of barbarians, because I mean, you know, at the time Attila, he might have been chilling over there with his barbarians. We'll say like Attila was there too, like Attila was helping out the Arabians. This is just kind of, I don't really know what kind of troops, like in my time machine, I wasn't able to visit that time period yet, so we will say barbarians are the time machine. And as we can see, they turned out to be quite the bloody battles, and bloody they were. Look at this, look at the savagery going on. And this is what went on for decades. Decades, well, maybe not decades, but years at a time. The Holy Crusades would go on and pretty much just try to take control. Unfortunately, the people of the Arabian Peninsula were having none of it. They're like, dude, get the hell out of here, you Europeans. And the Europeans, of course, were like, nah, it's in the name of Jesus, which it was. I don't know if Jesus would condone killing that many people, but hey, I'm not Jesus here. I don't make the rules. I just reenact them, okay? You gotta come out from where I'm coming from. So some kind of stuff would happen like that. Occasionally the huge Arabian generals would be able to muster up quite the good army, and in coordination with Attila and Genghis Khan. And someone said Genghis Khan is not how you pronounce it. Just want to call you out on your bullshit, because that is actually 100% how you do pronounce it. And I'm not being sarcastic in any way during this very sentence. That is actually one of the correct pronunciations, Genghis Khan. So yeah, you can suck it. I got something. What up? What you gonna do? Exactly, nothing. So here, we're gonna recreate a little bit of an army where they have some archers. Not archers, those are poachers, right? Poachers and barbarians as the front line. And then here we will have our crusaders coming in the form of footmen, but we'll also give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're coming in battalions of shields, because we want to have a little bit of a fight here, right? Of course we do. So we're just gonna go ahead and create these small battalions. And the Europeans were also, when they sent over these knights, and when King Arthur and some other notable kings, usually of the British Isles is where the kings were, right? They would usually lead these crusades, and well, they would have this, and occasionally they would also have, well, throwing a catapult here, you know, because I mean, they had to take the cities somehow when they were attacking the cities. So here, we got multiple formations coming in. We got the barbarians all pissy, and then we got, of course, the line of archers with, they literally just mowed down everyone. Like, wow. These are the worst archers I have ever seen in my life. They actually just killed everyone on their own team. Yeah, so this is why poachers are not part of a professional army. They literally just murder their own peoples. It's quite awful. And here you have the catapults coming in and absolutely destroying people. Where's the oh, yeah, see it. I love the catapults. They just abduct people from the line, like, whoop. Oh, and this, speaking of abducting, that shieldman is going off. Where's the next catapult going? Whoop, whoop. I barely even skinned him, but the guy's like, nope, catapult hit me. I'm done. I'm done. That didn't even hit anyone. But this is also another way in which the battles would go, and they would also incorporate poachers. I don't want to necessarily say archers, you know, they weren't the best, but the horse archers, there were horse archers. A lot of people were correcting me there in the comments. I am aware that Genghis Khan and Attila and the hordes of the steppe regions did have archers, specifically on horse. Those what made them so unique. However, I have no way of representing that in game, okay? Like, I don't know. That was some nice friendly fire at the end. I don't know what you want from me. I can't mod this game. I cannot put in someone that rides on horseback. There's not even a goddamn horse in game besides the chariot. So I'm a little bit limited. I'm sorry. I am aware of that though, and I would just like to clear that up before I get some more angry history students leaving angry passive-aggressive notes, right? So anyways, now, occasionally, or not occasionally, but ultimately, the people of the Arabic Peninsula had to unite. They were done putting up with the Europeans' shit, all right? They wanted Jerusalem back, because Jerusalem is the holy city for like 3 different religions, all right? That is the goddamn hot spot. Like, okay, analogy. If we're talking Pokemon Go terms, right? That's where like the max level Dragon Knight spawns, okay? That's literally what it is to religion. So that place is valuable. And is it necessarily valuable to control? Debatable, but in this time, the people of Europe were like, yo, it's the Holy Land. We need to control it. So that's what caused all of this. But ultimately, this is when things started to get a little bit bad and a little bit more ugly for our friends in Europe, because the people of the Arabic Peninsula decided to unite. They were done with these shenanigans, and they put together as professional of an army as they could. They were, no more games. They put together as professional of an army as possible, which involved a couple lines here of archers, right? We had the archers. We continued having the barbarians, and also, you know, they were able to get a couple horsemen here and there to help them out in their struggle, which, trust me when I say, that proved quite helpful. So, they were able to get a good amount of horsemen here, whereas the Europeans were also able to get themselves the shields from last time, right, and utilize a relatively similar pattern here in this great battle, which would ultimately decide the fate of Jerusalem and who would control it. And they would also be able to get some archers as well, right? Multiple lines of them, actually. And then behind their shieldsmen, they had the footmen. So this was quite the large battle. Well, actually, this was a little bit too large of a battle. I mean, they were known for having numbers, but I don't want to, like, over-exaggerate here. So we'll have the line... We'll get rid of the second line of shieldsmen there and instead have another line behind the initial shields of foot soldiers, because I do want to make this be relatively similar when it comes to like units and money wise. So they spend a lot more here, so we will give these guys a little bit more in the way of leeway and also expand out their shields a little bit. That should give them a little bit of money to make this a bit more fair, right? And after that, it's pretty fair. And pretty much this is how the final battle, something similar to this, all right? Although there were also more armored horsemen and knights for the Europeans. It's just very hard for me to represent that, but this is quite symbolic of what happened. It was just a mess. The horsemen going, the horses flying once they hit to the Church of Jerusalem, and well, this is ultimately what would potentially drive the Europeans out of their home. Because look at this. Well, not out of their home, out of the place that they were claiming for themselves, but this would end up being quite the close battle. Down to the wire, the barbarians doing their best to take them out, but these armored and more professional foot soldiers were having none of it. They're like, dude, get out of my face. Like, I'ma kill you, okay? And after a bloody battle, many losses, the Blues, the Europeans, would ultimately be able to come out with the dub, the Reds taking the L, and disappointing for the Reds, but ultimately the Blues would win. However, the peasants of the time were goddamn pissed when the Blues lost, all right? And when I say they were pissed, all right? They took to the streets and they wanted to chase these bad men out and chase them out. They would. However, okay, that guy glitched. Don't want to, okay, let's redo that. We don't want a guy glitching right away. They're dropping shields already, but these peasants, right? They got pissed. And as you can see, we already have some troops running away over there. That dude's running for his life. He sees the hordes of peasants. They're running. They're fleeing into goddamn different dimensions. All right, that's how scared they are, because they saw the numbers that these hordes had. And, well, that's ultimately what would chase them out, what would chase the Europeans out, because it was not worth it to hold this piece of land which had no economic or really benefit besides religious sentiment. They were like, all right, you know, we're taking a lot of losses here, and really there's no point. We have people dying. Look at that man get swarmed. My God, look at this man about to be swarmed. And it was just awful. And then that's when King Arthur and some of the more notable kings, they're like, okay, we gotta get out of here. The Crusades are proving too costly, and we're losing troops, we're losing men, we're losing funds because they had to train. Oh my God, look at that. They're stealing the shield from him. That's, oh my God, they're parading his shield as a prize. Look at that. And unfortunately, after the Europeans saw the awful losses that were to happen, even if they are able to come out on top, the Europeans ultimately said, it's not worth it. We gotta get the hell out of here. And so they did. They would begin to evacuate slowly, and that is what would ultimately help. It was also, there were the scattered professional battles between some of the Arabic armies, but for the most part, it was the peasants being pissed off, and it was very hard to control these peasants when they were pissed off. Don't get me wrong. Like, you try to control pissed off people, it usually does not go well. And here we can see, like, this guy, he's praying. They're praying. They're just like, Lord, may you have mercy on our soul. May we not die to the pissed off Arabic people. And I'm very sorry that we tried to take this land. And here you can see he's even trying to hold his, he's holding his friend's sword. I don't even know why, but ultimately the church would not be enough to convince them to stay. They knew they had to leave, and well, I mean, there's still somewhat of a battle going on, but as you can see, most of the blue army has been slaughtered. Even out here in a way, this, what is that? Is that a one farmer? This one farmer was able, that's just not even a farmer, that's a peasant. He was able to murder those two in cold blood with his own hands. Third man over there, it appears that they killed each other. That or this man's praying for the tree gods. I'm not sure. His eyes are still open. Do they have an X on them? I think that man's still alive, so he might be good. And then here we have the mass of people and more people coming, praying to the church, unfortunately for them. Farmers, they do not care. They do not care. So ultimately, this is what would convince them to leave, and they would leave realizing that, wow, that was the stupidest 10 to 20 years that we have ever thought of. We should really not do that again. That was such a waste of resources, such a waste of people. We should be improving ourselves back at home instead of fighting abroad for this piece of land that really has no use to us as nations at all. And that is exactly what they did. They would ultimately leave until about 10 to 20 years later, another king was elected, and he thought that the Crusades were a great idea again. And then that repeated itself about 4 to 5 times until ultimately someone finally wisened up and they're like, okay, the 6th time, I think we've learned our lesson. It's not gonna work. So yeah, that is the story of the Crusades, of King Arthur, and of the knights of the medieval era. I still don't know if this battle is going to end. I will let it try to play out. Unfortunately, I have no clue how this is gonna go. Here we got the swordman and the, look at this man. They're he friendly fire much. Yeah, that man's attempting to take people out. And I mean, we still got the 2 people praying. And let's see if this man, no, he's too busy engaging in coitus with the tombstone. Man, these people really have no regard for the church. And for the dead too, but without further ado, that is gonna do it for this history lesson. Quite the bloody chapter, and really not the smartest chapter in European history. They really could have been spending those resources actually advancing and figuring out how the hell to get the clouds out of the sun and make it actually sunnier. But hey, eventually the clouds cleared themselves up. The Europeans, science-wise, it was not their best period during this point in time, but that's gonna do it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this history lesson. Hopefully you guys, if you didn't enjoy it, that's okay. Hopefully you go out and do something else to enjoy life and or something and just be enjoyable, and hopefully at the end of the day you can be like, today there was joy in my day, because that is the end goal. At least personally for me, I like to go for the whole like actually have a happy day. Gotta live life day by day, see where that takes you. These guys are still doing whatever the hell they're doing. Oh no, this man's trying to break free. He's like stepping out. Oh, are they fighting each other? Are they arguing? Or are they scissoring? Oh god, I think they're scissoring. Well then, that is not what I expected. Anyways, hope you guys did enjoy it. If you didn't, hope you go out, enjoy something else, and have yourselves a goddamn fantastic day. Thank you for the supports on our history lessons. It is awesome. Thank you for the suggestions as well for future history lessons. I appreciate that, students, really do, because I am learning. This is my first year, you know, in this classrooms and teaching this topic, so it is a challenge, but I do believe that I have a very, very good grasp, and these guys are actually scissoring each other. That is interesting to say the least, as this man is, well, attempting to tackle a tree. It's like football practice all over again. So thank you guys for the support. Seriously do appreciate it. And that's gonna do it for today's history lesson. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and no homework today. I know, the best news in the world, don't you worry, no homework, unless of course in the comment section you have any suggestions. I would appreciate if you could drop a suggestion, the suggestion box known as the comment section, for any other future history lessons you'd like to see. And even if it's not a history lesson, just maybe like some battles you'd like to see reenacted. And also, like button, it's pretty cool. I don't know. Yeah, it's your call. It's your call. You crazy kids, you do what you want. No homework besides that, though. So thank you guys for coming to today's history lesson, and I will see you whenever the hell the next one is. So look out for your emails and your subscription boxes, and just make sure you attend, okay? Don't know if we're really gonna have a test in this class. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, last time I took a test, I failed it, so I'm not even sure how I'm teaching. But yeah, if you're wondering, I'm not gonna say what topic specifically that test was, because that might discredit me. So take that as you will. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.